to the Business Education Talk Show. I'm Kathy Sims, editor of the Biz Ed Guide, and each week we bring our viewers a special public access program to help keep you informed of many opportunities for your business, your career, and also for your life. Today we have a special guest with us who is going to give you some very valuable information that could affect your life and possibly the lives of all of us living in this area. Our guest today is Joseph Mangano, and he is the Executive Director of the Radiation and Public Health Project. Thank you very much for joining us, Joseph.
My pleasure.
And I've had you on the show before, and a couple of years ago, and for our viewers who missed that show, maybe you could tell them what is the Radiation and Public Health Research Project.
Yes, our group is actually a group of scientists and health professionals. Our mission is to do studies, to do research on cancer risk from nuclear reactors. We have published 25 medical journal articles, 7 books. We've done many press conferences on the topic. The reason we do our work is this. In this country, there are 104 nuclear reactors. Now, nuclear reactors produce electrical power by making water very hot and turning it into steam, which converts into electricity. But in addition, reactors create over 100 chemicals. Chemicals that are not found in nature, but only created when you explode an atomic bomb or when you run a nuclear reactor. Some of these names may be familiar. Strontium-90, iodine-131, plutonium-239. They're all radioactive. They all cause cancer, and they're especially harmful to the infants and children. These chemicals are emitted. Much of it is contained within the plant, but some is actually released into the air. They're these tiny metal particles, and they enter human bodies by breathing, by eating, and by drinking. And we do studies measuring how much gets in people's bodies and whether there's a link to cancer. And very quickly in these 25 journal articles, the last of which we'll discuss today, we've found that in most cases, cancer rates near nuclear reactors are high, especially the radiation-sensitive cancers like child cancer, thyroid, and breast cancer. We've found that levels of radiation in bodies are high, and by bodies we measured a certain chemical, strontium-90, in baby teeth near nuclear reactors, and these levels are high and they're increasing.
Does it matter, sure, like how close you are to the nuclear plant? I've
been asked that a lot. There's no magic lead wall that stops these particles from moving along with the wind and getting into the body. But generally we find within, say, 30 miles or 40 miles of a nuclear plant is where you see the highest rates of cancer.
So even up to 40 miles?
Yes.
Now I understand you've been doing some research on thyroid cancer. Can you tell us why in particular this disease?
Yes, well, just recently we had published our latest, our 25th medical journal article on thyroid cancer. Just for starters, for those that don't know, the thyroid gland is a small gland which is wrapped around the throat. It looks kind of like a butterfly, and it's a very important gland because it produces certain hormones that are very important in terms of physical growth and in terms of mental growth, especially in infants and children. There are many different diseases of the thyroid, one of which, of course, is thyroid cancer. And it's probably a pretty well-kept secret that thyroid cancer is the fastest rising cancer in the United States. Since 1980, the U.S. rate of thyroid cancer has almost tripled, which is just staggering. And not every person who develops thyroid cancer is old and unhealthy. Many victims are healthy, young adults, middle-aged adults, especially women. Of course, the question comes up, why is thyroid cancer rising? Generally, there's very little known about what causes thyroid cancer, except for one reason. If you look on the web, the American Cancer Society and the Mayo Clinic, it will spell out clearly that the only known cause of thyroid cancer is radiation exposure.
That's the only known cause?
Yes. The other risk factors are, if you have another thyroid problem or if you have a certain gene. But those aren't really causes. Those have been caused. But the only direct cause known, there may be others, of course, is radiation exposure.
So, and you said that the rate of thyroid cancer in this country has tripled since 1980.
That's right.
Well, how long have nuclear plants been around?
Nuclear plants in this country first came around in the late 1950s, but it wasn't until, a very good question, it wasn't until really the mid-1970s when the majority of these nuclear plants were built. In the 50s and 60s there were only a handful, but it was the 70s that really turned things around, and of course that raises the question, are emissions from these reactors helping drive up thyroid cancer rates?
Okay, and what about any other, you have some maps here. Are there certain areas that you've seen in your research where the thyroid cancers are higher than other areas?
Yeah, well, but before I get to the maps, I'll tell you how I arrived at them. My idea for the article was to address the question, why are thyroid cancer rates rising so fast? I mean, because they've been rising for 30 years, you'd think there'd be many, many articles in medical journals about it. The answer is no. For years, scientists just sort of ignored the question. There's a lot written about treatment of thyroid cancer. Many people are able to live once their thyroid gland is removed and they're given hormone for the rest of their life. But only until recently did anyone even address the question, why are the rates going up? One scientist from Dartmouth College wrote an article saying that it was simply a matter of doctors detecting more cancers. Of course, the following year, last year, another scientist from the Armed Forces Institute of Pathology said just the opposite. He says, no, that's not the reason at all. There are as many new large cancers as small cancers, so it's got to be something else other than better detection. So the answer is we don't know. So I wanted to take a look at what might be causing thyroid cancer by first looking at what are the rates state by state and county by county. And here's where I'll get into the maps if I may continue.
Thyroid cancers are way up in the last, 25 years?
30 years.
30 years. You wanted to see, well, where are they up? Are they near nuclear plants? Is that what you have discovered?
I'm the first one to have looked at that question. And it really was only made possible. The Centers for Disease Control only recently put up on the web, very easy to use, state by state and county by county rates of cancer incidence. The first map that I put together represents what I found for each state. And if you take a look at the map, you will see that there is I found a great variation in rates state by state. The states with the highest rates, like Pennsylvania, have more than double the thyroid cancer rate than some states like North Carolina.
Now, Pennsylvania, the site of 3 Mile Island.